So, my name is Joy K. Madison. I am a clarity coach. Now, you may be saying, what is a clarity coach? Like, you can't just be making stuff up. What do you think you are? Actually, I can, and I did. So, I'm a clarity coach. And if you're kind of wondering what that is, let me see if I can paint a picture for you. So imagine your life as a road trip, right? You're going on this long journey, and along this road trip, your body would be the vehicle, right, through which you navigate the world. Now, depending on the maintenance you do along the way in your life, your body can either become a shiny classic or an old hoopty. So it really depends. That's why we provided all this healthy food, salads, fruits, waters, all the things. We want to support you in doing proper maintenance along the way so you can all be shining glasses. So your body is the vehicle, right, through which you navigate the world. Your mind is the roadmap. Your thoughts, your beliefs. So we've been talking about affirmations. What do you want to create for yourself? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? Your mind, those thoughts and beliefs, that's the roadmap, because that's going to determine how you're going to move. When you come up to a crossroads in your life, what you believe to be true about who you are and what's possible is going to determine which choice you make about which direction you go. Right? So your mind is the roadmap. And then your relationships are the signs along the way that kind of let you know if you're going in the right direction. So ending up here in this room with women who decided to spend their Sunday afternoon saying, I want to be empowered, I want to move towards what it is that I am here to create and be and do in the world. Just showing up in this room and connecting with women who are in that space in their lives and in their minds and in their hearts, those are the types of relationships that let you know you're going in the right direction. Right? So your body is the vehicle, your mind is the roadmap, and your relationships are the signs along the way that let you know you're going in the right direction. Or they may say, you might want to make a U-turn. You might want to detour off this one. So pay attention to those signs, right? The people in your life. Very, very important. Sometimes when you're on a road trip, though, you get lost. Maybe you've never been there. You're going to a new place. Or maybe the way you intended to go, there was something going on, you got a detour. So in those moments, you got to check your GPS. That's where I come in. I am your GPS. I am your God purpose support. When you're navigating through this life and you just need a little bit of support, you're not really sure which way to go or what's going on, that's when you call me. So I'm your clarity coach. Does that make a little bit more sense now? You get it? Okay. So next time somebody says they're a clarity coach, I'm like, no, you're not. You don't even know what that is. She made that up. No. So I hope that gives you a little bit more clarity about what a clarity coach is. I want to say before I get started really deeply into what I came to bring to you today is that everything that I'm going to say to you today, everything that I'm going to present to you, it is a request, not a requirement. I am simply here to invite you to be your best and highest self, to become aware of what's available and what's possible in the world. But I also understand that this could be the very beginning. And I'm not here to try to force you or pull you to do anything. I used to be a personal trainer. I used to own a fitness studio. And I would always tell my clients, I'm not here to force you. I'm here to push you a little bit past what you thought you could do. But if you're just not ready, then you're not ready, and that's okay. And we're going to talk about readiness a little bit later on. So I just wanted to put that out there because what I'm about to ask you to do is please stand up. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge this moment that we're having right now. So place your right hand over your heart, your left hand over your belly. And I thought there was a pregnant woman in here, so we've got like hearts and bellies. So place your right hand over your heart, your left hand over your belly. And I just want you to close your eyes for a moment, take a couple of deep breaths, and just take a moment to really appreciate this precious gift of life. Feel your heart beating. Feel the rhythm of your breath. And know that for every time you inhale and exhale, every breath you take means there is more for you, more to do, more available. Never too young, never too old, never too rich or too poor, or too tall or too short or whatever. No such thing as two. You are exactly as you are. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Make your way back to your seat. Yeah. So I want everybody to just take one collective deep breath, and when you sigh it out, I just want you to go, ah. Yeah, just let it out. All right. So I remember, it must have been a couple of years ago, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I was watching an interview with former First Lady Michelle Obama, and they were asking her, had she heard everything that everybody had been saying about her bangs? Do you guys remember that? Do you remember she got bangs and the whole row was like, oh my God, the First Lady has bangs? We were like, it's bangs. So she was doing this interview, and as if it weren't enough that everybody was talking about her bangs, they then asked her, had she heard what everybody was saying about her bangs? And she was like, no, because I'm the First Lady and whatever. So, the lady asked her, had she heard what everyone was saying about her bangs? And her response, I remember, it like clicked something for me. And what she ultimately said was, you know, we have social media right now, and what that means is what used to be a kitchen table conversation that people would have just with each other amongst themselves is now becoming a national conversation. Everybody now has a platform, somewhere where they can voice their opinions, or they can say what they think about politics, about relationships, about whatever they're having for dinner. Everybody has a platform with blogs and YouTube and all these different things that everyone has a voice, and people say these things because they want to be heard. Right? We all want to be heard. We want to be seen. We want to be understood. And this is why, to Sarah's point, I work really hard to be a good listener, because I know that there are so many people in this room maybe who just never feel heard. You're talking to people and they're waiting for their chance to respond. They're not listening though. And you can sense that, you know that. And so people are using all these social media platforms because they want to be heard. But the flip side of that too is that they're scrolling their timelines when they have a downtime, right? So I'm standing in line at the grocery store and I'm scrolling. Or I'm waiting for my friend to show up at lunch and she's late, so I'm scrolling. I'm sitting at a red light in traffic and I'm scrolling. Oh, y'all don't scroll in the... Okay. You gonna leave me out there hanging on the light? Okay, cool. You're lying. Oh, you're lying. No, but it's fine. But what I'm saying is that people are using these things not only to be heard, but also to sort of distract themselves. So I thought that was a little bit ironic. The more I thought about it, I said, wow, people are using these things because they want to be heard, but at the same time, they're using those very same platforms to distract themselves from having to listen to themselves. So it's like you want other people to hear you, but you're not yet willing or ready to hear yourself. What are you saying to and about yourself that you're running from? That every time you have a down moment, you're scrolling, or you're clicking, or you're finding something else to busy yourself. So I began to think about that, like, what is going on with us that we don't want to hear ourselves? And I know that people spoke about fears, and they spoke about, struggles and all these different things that go on. And I can definitely connect to and attest to and sort of relate to what it feels like to really have to see yourself, to really have to look at yourself and deal with what you see. It's not just enough to see it. What are you going to do about it? So I'm thinking about this message that we're talking about today and finding your voice and all of those things. But the thing about finding your voice is that once you found it, you also have to trust it, right? Because even if you hear yourself saying the words like the affirmations and all the things that we've done today, all the words that you just yelled out, if you hear yourself saying it, but you don't believe that it's real for you, and you don't trust yourself enough to do the work that is required for it to become real for you, it doesn't matter. You're just out here yelling on a Sunday, hollering. So there's something else that has to be done. There's a reason why we're running from that voice. And there's a reason why we don't trust that voice. So I want to talk a little bit today about some things that I want you to take home with you, so that you don't just leave here today feeling like this is great. And then you wake up tomorrow to real life and you're like, what? Like, I want you to leave here today like, this is great. And then I want you to wake up tomorrow and be like, what? Oh, you know what? GPS Joy said, step 1, right? And I want you to know, it's like turn-by-turn directions, right? Like, I want to give you, this is how you get there. So, and these are not rules, rigid, that I'm going to say, like, this works for everybody, but this is, just guidelines. You know, I'm sure you guys have been on, like, waves when you're like, why would you tell me to go this way? So, like, maybe I might tell you to do some things that feels like, I don't know, but trust me, right? I'm going to get you there. So, I created something, if you guys know me, if you've been, I see some of my, like, coaching clients in here, and people have been to my other workshops. So if y'all know me, y'all know you're not going to get out of here without homework. I told you I'm back in school. So if I got homework, y'all got homework. So it's just an acronym. It should be easy. We're talking about voices. We all want to be heard. So the acronym is HEARD. Look at that. And the first letter is H, help. When we're talking about hearing or wanting to be heard or listening to ourselves, oftentimes as women, and it has come up a million times today, we are not honest about when we need help. We try to do it all. And we wear that cape of Superwoman like a badge of honor. We never hang it up. We never get it cleaned. It's just always on. We sleep in it. We shower in it. We strut in it. It is our thing. We need to start being okay with saying, I need help. I remember I was talking to this man a while ago, and he was just sharing this story with me. He said, I was coming out of my apartment one day at the same time as my neighbor, and she opened her door, and I realized that she had some luggage with her, so she must have been traveling. And I said to her, do you need help with your luggage? And she said, oh, no, I got it. And he said, oh, okay. So he locked his door, she locked her door, he went down the stairs, and he said, well, if I can't help her with her luggage, at least I can hold the door for her. So he got down the stairs, and he's holding the door, and he said, as I got downstairs and I held the door and I looked up at her, here she came down, clunk, 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 down the stairs with her luggage, struggling. She's dressed in a business suit, she's got on heels, her hair is laid, and she is struggling down the stairs with her luggage. And he said to himself, why would she do that? And as he's telling me the story, I'm like, you don't know? Like, hello. That's like, this is what we do. Everything, duh. So, when I think about that story, I think about, wow, there are just so many opportunities that we have to be supported in our lives, and we don't ever ask for that help. And I just wonder, like, can any of you think of a moment in your life where you needed help? Maybe it's right now, and you didn't ask for it. Did you hear what she said? Tell me your name. Eva. Eva says that in taking care of her house with her family, her 3 children, and she's tired and all of the things, oftentimes she doesn't ask for help because it makes her look weak. How many of you guys can relate to that? How many of you ladies, can relate to that? Yeah, me too, actually. So here's the deal. How many of you have ever helped someone? And when you were helping them, did you go, look how weak you are? Is that what you were saying? Probably not, right? But for whatever reason, when it's our turn to be on the receiving end of that, we make up this story in our mind about it, meaning that we're weak. And it's not true. And one way that I've flipped my mind around that whole concept is we are all relational beings, right? And if we believe that we are sort of purposed to be in this room together in this moment, and we're connected to certain people for certain reasons, and they show for certain things, and they show up in our lives for all of this, part of that is I don't get to block you from being a blessing for me. Maybe that's the reason why we're even in connection. Maybe you came into my life at this moment to support something that it is that I want to do. Like, I just met Brenda for this purpose. Had it not been for the vision that she had and me being connected to her daughter and all the things that brought us together, who knows? And I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but without me, I don't know if it even would have been possible. I mean, not like, but she could have found someone else, but like they wouldn't have been me. I'm clear about that. I'm very clear. She could have found someone else, but they would not have been me. Right? And so I get to support her vision by showing up and doing my thing, being myself. And then she gets to support mine as I continue to do this work and want to be here to listen to all of you. Right? And so if I don't receive that support, if I don't receive that help, if I'm not open to that because I think it's weak, because I think it makes me needy, because of whatever the thing I tell myself, how many things am I missing in this life? How many opportunities to create what it is that I'm standing here saying I want, that all of you stood there and said that you want? How many of you really think that you're going to get there by your lonesome? There's this conversation that we have that's like, I'm self-made. No. Somebody gave you $0.25 to use a phone or something. Even Uber, even if you're going to count it, it's Uber. Somebody helped you get somewhere to do something. You didn't do all of it by yourself. Ask for help. So the first sort of step, I guess, to really finding your voice, and let me just say this, I don't even really think it's about finding your voice, because I didn't give you guys that long and you all came up with a word to say today. So I don't even know if it's about finding your voice as much as it is about honoring your voice, right? About hearing it and then trusting it enough to say, I'm going to follow it. I'm going to go in the direction that I hear my voice calling me, because that voice is really my spirit calling me. We say things like, something told me, or my intuition, or I had a gut feeling. No, that's your divine connection to your soul's purpose, calling you in a direction. So when you hear it, you gotta heed it. Right? So I don't know if we're finding our voices because maybe we don't recognize it because we haven't heard it in a long time. It's been drowned out by other things, being a parent, being a partner, being a businesswoman, being whatever the things are that we are in the world. So maybe we're finding it because we have to reconnect to what it sounds like. But once you do that, then honor it. That's what I really want you to do. And the first thing is to be honest with yourself about when you need help. The second thing, E, emotions. Be honest about what you're feeling. How many times has somebody said to you, oh, what's going on? And you, oh, I'm okay. No, you're not. And they may ask you 2 or 3 times. And every time you say, no, I'm fine, really. I'm good. It's fine. How many have done that? Raise your hands high. I'm going to raise 2 hands because, hello. And so is there anyone who wants to share sort of maybe a recent time when you knew you weren't okay and someone asked you and you just said, oh, I'm okay? What was going on and why didn't you speak up? Nobody wants to share?
I don't exactly remember what the situation is, but I currently do it. Because I feel like it's none of your business.
Okay.
I'm for real. It's not.
It's fair.
If I'm having a problem and you're asking me what's wrong, it's like halfway you're being nosy.
Okay.
And which a lot of people are. They want to be in your business, and it's none of your business. So whatever I'm dealing with inside, whether it be personal, financial, work, it's my problem that I need to iron out. Maybe I don't need your help because maybe you're being messy. Maybe I'm going to be a breakfast table or dinner table conversation that I don't want to be the topic of.
Okay, that's fair. So you're sort of being protective of your emotions, but I think it's very, very smart. May I ask you a quick question though? If you don't ask or if you don't trust the person who may be asking you, do you at least have a circle of people that you can go to, that you can speak to? And do you utilize that circle?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Anybody else you have? Yes.
I, Jones, actually said yesterday to my husband, and I didn't voice it because in my mind you're not going to understand. And if you don't understand, then that's going to create another stream of emotions. Because now I've got to try to explain that to get you to understand that, to hopefully get you to understand what I was saying before. So it's just that idea of just not feeling like it's kind of pointless because you're not going to understand.
Okay. So what if I make this suggestion to you about that concept? What if I say to you, perhaps you trying to explain to him what you're assuming he won't understand, by doing that, you will more fully understand what's going on with you, and you get to process your emotions, and then you get to heal or understand or find a more clear solution simply by having the conversation. So maybe it's not about him understanding or him solving the problem. It's about him providing a space for you to process this and figure it out for yourself. Because at the end of the day, I'm a clarity coach, and people come to me and they're like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. And the truth is, what I say to people all the time is that I'm really not supposed to know. It's not my business, right? To her point. But here's what I do know. I know that you know. And I say to people all the time, everything that ever becomes of the tree was already in the seed. Right? So you plant a seed in the ground. Everything that will ever become of the tree that grows from that seed was in the seed when you planted it. So that everything you will ever be, everything you will ever do, everything you will ever have is already in you. But there's just that process, right, that you have to go through to reveal that. You are everything you will ever need to be. Right now, it's in you. So I don't have the answers. I'm here to support and reflect yourself back to you so that you can see your own answers within. So your husband may not have the answers. He may not understand. But the more you are willing to open up and share and connect with him, be vulnerable with him, invite him into that process. Because if nothing else, even if he doesn't understand, he got to live there with you. So at least love him enough to say, you know what, let me just let you know what this is right now before we just, the whole thing be a mess, right? So just don't be so, one another thing that I say to my clients is, be committed to the process, but not attached to the outcome. So maybe you sharing with him is not about him understanding. It's about the process of being connected to him while you're going through this season of life. Because you are, anyway, in your partnership, by default connected, right? So you want to make sure you strengthen that connection by not creating boundaries between the two of you because you're not being honest about what you're feeling. Does that make sense? And emotions are energy in motion. They come to teach you something. So one of the other things that I work with my clients is that I teach them sort of, what does anger come to teach you about how you can show up in your life and begin to create the experiences that you want. So one of the things that anger teaches you is how to set boundaries. When somebody makes you mad and they say, you made me mad. No, nobody can make you anything. You place a value on a situation and you assess it according to that value, which then you choose anger based on that. So if I come to you right now and I take this cup, you might say, hey, that's not yours. But are you going to be mad at me? Probably not. But if I come and I take your purse, it's a different kind of thing. It's a word amount of the same thing. Empty cup, empty purse. Okay, maybe not. Point is, the value that you assign to a particular thing will then determine how you respond to the situation as it relates to that. So it's not that somebody else made you mad, it's that what they did, you assigned a value to it, and then based on that, you chose mad as the response. Does that make sense? So our emotions come to teach us something. So when you can become honest with yourself about what you're feeling, and then especially with people around you, and particularly if those people around you are participating in creating that feeling, you need to be honest because that comes to teach you something. Anger comes to teach you how to set boundaries. I bet you teach somebody, don't you touch my purse again. Right? So it's a situation where it teaches you how to show up in a way that allows you to create what it is you want for your life, right? So that's why it's very, very important for you to be honest about your emotions, right? So we talked about being honest about when you need help, being honest about your emotions. The next letter is A. Being honest about when something doesn't resonate with you. So authenticity. A is for authenticity. Being honest when something doesn't resonate with you. Like, I know you've been sitting in a situation where somebody says something, you're like, ooh, I don't know about that. But then you're like, I ain't gonna say no, I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be that one. There are some of my classmates in here, they know that I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem. I'm sorry, what did you say? I don't agree. And it's fine because there's a way to disagree without being disagreeable. Right? And largely what I have found is that oftentimes when people sort of step back and they don't speak up when something doesn't resonate or when something just goes, ugh, I don't like it, is that they don't want to be disagreeable. I don't want to not be liked, right? Like, I'm afraid they won't like me if I don't agree with them, or if I don't just go along. I don't want to rock the boat, right? So it's that fear of being rejected or the fear of that loss of that relationship. No. Because I would much rather for someone else to say, well then, if you don't like this, then I don't like you, than to carry myself home, not have spoken up, and go home not liking myself. Because now I feel like I have not shown up as who I know I am. You don't like me? You can go home. Not that people are disposable, but you gotta be with you every day. So you gotta be well with that. And part of that is really choosing what's true for you at all times. So authenticity, right, is the A. The letter R, we talked about this earlier. Be honest about your level of readiness. Oh, that's a tough one. Especially we're building businesses and we're building families and all the things that we're doing in the world. And there's a huge conversation right now about fearlessness, which all my work is about fear. And while I understand what people say when they're talking about being fearless, it's just not real. Fear is necessary. We need it. If a bear walked in here right now and I didn't get scared, guess what? I would die. I would, all this food in here, if a bear walked in here right now and I didn't get some kind of scared, I would probably get mauled to death. I need fear. So it's not about being fearless. It's about recognizing your fear, learning how to approach, manage, and overcome it and keep it in its place. Right? And so when we talk about readiness, we are presented with things that sometimes make us feel like, I gotta do. I don't know if I'm gonna get this opportunity again. I don't know. You know what? What's for you is for you. And I already told you, everything that will become of the tree is already in the seed. So this isn't your moment will come to have exactly, to be exactly, and to do exactly everything that you want in this world. I say it over and over and over and over. Everything is as it should be. I'm gonna share a quick story about that because she's here and it's funny to me. I was in Mexico recently and a friend of mine wanted to do a photo shoot. And we had things to do. It was a quick trip, so we were all around. And all day she was like, you guys, we're gonna miss the sun, the photo shoot. And I was like halfway over it anyway, so I was just like, oh, you and this photo shoot, girl. So, okay. All day, we're shopping. Guys, the sun is going down, the photo shoot, guys. Finally, we get to the beach. The sun is setting, it's a beautiful scene. I don't know if you guys are ever into photography or know anything about it, but it's the golden hour. Beautiful time of day to take photos. Not only is it the best time of day to take photos, we get out there with our struggle cameras, right? Selfie, all the things we're trying to do. And wouldn't you know, a man walked up and said, hey, would you guys like me to take your photo? So we're like, sure, of course, yeah. So he takes our photo, then he starts getting into it, and we're like, wait a minute. And he's like, oh, I'm a photographer. Oh, jackpot. So not only are we here at the perfect time of day to get our photos, the man who offered to take our picture is a photographer. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna take these pictures, I'm gonna edit them, and I'll send them to you in an hour. What? And I just remember I said to her, now are you gonna trust the timing of your life? Because you never know. We push and push when we want things to be done. But we have to trust that things are going to happen exactly as they should, right? Because we should all over ourselves. I should be this, I should be that, I should have, I should. I always ask people when they say should, according to whom? According to what should you be doing this thing? Should you be having this thing? Should you be this thing? Whose standards are those? Who gave you that story? If it didn't come from you, if it's not yours, throw it away. Throw it away. I like to vintage shop, right? Like I buy things, oh, that's cheaper, that's cute from the 80s, I love it. But it's just certain stuff I'm just not gonna put on. And I'm not gonna put on your expectations. I'm just not. So we have to learn to trust the timing of our lives and know that everything is happening as it should be. And that if we do not feel convicted and committed to a thing in the moment that is being presented to us, then don't do it. Because what's going to happen if you try to rush yourself because you think you should be at a place or should be doing a thing, is that whatever it is you start doing, it's not going to be what it could because you weren't ready. It wasn't time. You were not appointed. So be honest about your level of readiness. Don't feel rushed just because the opportunity presents itself. Every door that is before you is not meant for you to open. Right? So be honest about that. Ask yourself, and I'm not saying like shy away, right? There's a difference between recognizing this is a moment for me to step up and level up, and I need to step out of my comfort zone. That's very different from, I know I'm not ready for this, and I'm going to say yes anyway. What? Don't do it. Because when your true opportunity shows up, all you're going to have is that experience in your mind, maybe that reputation you created for doing something that you weren't ready, and that's going to taint the real moment. Step into your moment, and when it's your moment, you will know. Be honest with yourself about your level of readiness to do a thing in your life. And the last one is D, demand. Be honest about the demand that something is going to place on you. Be honest, energetically, emotionally, time-wise, whatever that is, be honest about that. I actually had someone, she called me today and said, I'm not going to be able to make it. She said, you know what, next time I'm going to have to check in with my husband because he had all these plans and I just told him I was going to go to this thing and he said, no, you're not. We have to do all these other things. How many of you actually ever just volunteer other people? Like, you know what? I can't. I used to do this all the time, actually. I'm going to tell a quick funny story. When I was in like 3rd grade, I was sitting in the classroom and we were doing a play, right? We were doing Country Mouse, City Mouse. Have you guys ever heard of that? We're doing Country Mouse, City Mouse, and we're sitting in there and they're telling us all about the play and handing out the script and they're excited. And of course, you know, it's kids. And they're like, okay, because anyone's parents, you know, who can help us with the play? And I'm like, they're like, what? I'm like, my mom can make the costumes. Okay, great. Go home and I'm like, Mom, I'm going to do Country Mouse, City Mouse. And also you have to make the costumes. She's like, excuse me? It's just 30 mouse costumes. Not a big deal. Just 30. It's just ears and like a tail. Right? No, 30 costumes I volunteered her to make. And also like potato salad or something. So like, I mean, just always volunteering her, right? But I realized that what will happen is like, I don't do it anymore. Like I know better. Because she got angry and set the boundary, right? See how that worked? So I don't do that anymore. But how many of you guys ever just, you know, do you ever volunteer people in your life to be like, you know what? I can't, but I know my sister will totally show up and make the 30 mouse costumes. Like, does anybody do that? Who do you volunteer?
Well, in history.
Okay.
She was the mom that was going to do all the things.
Oh, for sure. Brenda?
I was volunteering my husband.
Yeah. I knew that was going to come up. The truth is, only the two of you actually raise your hand. And the truth is, we rarely do that. Rarely do we ever say, you know what, I'm going to commit this other person to this thing without asking them, without checking in with them, without ever knowing if they want to do it or if they can do it, right? We don't do it. But we do it to ourselves. Somebody says, hey, you want to go to this thing? And we're like, yeah, I haven't checked the calendar. having none of that. You just show up. And I know we've all double booked. I've double booked. Because you just didn't check in with yourself. You didn't say, what is the demand that this is going to place on me? And do I have the bandwidth to carry it out? We just jump in. And that's really attached to that first thing we talked about, which is just, wanting to be all the things all the time to all the people. So it's like, you want me to show up to this thing? Absolutely. You want me to make 30 mouse costumes? Sure. Like, I don't even have a sewing machine. What am I supposed to do? Knit it by hand? Like, what is happening right now? But I'm going to do it because you asked me to, and this is who I am. And I just take off the cape for just a moment and say, you know what? I don't have it. I'm not going to be able to do it. And it's really okay. My therapist gave me this tip a long time ago. He said, when people ask you to do things, why don't you try this response? He said, why don't you say, you know what, that sounds great. Let me get back to you and let you know if I'll be able to do it. I would love to participate. I'd love to commit. I'd love to come and speak at your school or do this presentation. I would love that. Let me get back to you. Because you're not just giving them a hard no, right? If somebody's like, can you come speak to the kindergarten? And I'm like, no. They're going to be like, you're an ass. So, it gives me that moment to say, this sounds wonderful. Let me check with me. Because what you do is not always who you are. And sometimes we have roles in this world that consume us, and we're so tied up in the doing that we forget who we're being. And if what you're doing is pulling you away from who you want to be, it's time to switch it up. It's time to be honest with yourself about those things, right? About when you need help, about what you're feeling, about, does this resonate? Am I being true to myself? Am I being authentic right now? Am I really ready for this thing? Is the demand that this is placing on me something that I want to carry right now? That's how you check in with yourself. That's how you hear yourself. Not just hear yourself, right? Because some of you guys are parents, and I know that you sometimes hear your children going, mommy, 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 mommy. And you hear them, but you're not listening to them. They just sound like something in the background. But it's not until you tune in to what they're saying and you start to listen that then you can truly respond to what they're calling you for, right? So there's one thing to hear yourself. We drown ourselves out with all the things that we do. I'm going to ask you today, and I'm going to invite you today to just in those moments when life begins to call you in all these different directions, to not only hear yourself, but to listen to yourself. Listen to what your life is calling out for, and then respond to that. Respond to those things, those emotions, those whatever it is that's calling out to you. Respond to that when your body is saying something to you. Because we talk about sickness, right, and disease, and we're starting to make the connection between like stress, right, which is like an emotional, psychological thing that manifests as physical things, right? But like we say the word disease, right? But do we understand that it is actual dis-ease? That's what a disease is. It is when you are at dis-ease with yourself, with your circumstance, with whatever. And if you don't deal with it, that psychological and emotional thing becomes physical, because you know what? In our culture, that's what we value, right? It's not until it becomes something physical that we then run to the doctor and we're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, but I've been trying to get your attention. I've been knocking for months. But you had to go and do and be and go. And I had to be here and I had to do this and I had to. And so your body said, oh, you won't sit down? And I'm going to lay you down. And that's why when we get sick, we can't do anything and we're bedridden. Because that's our body saying, I need your attention. Hello. I want to be a shiny classic, not an old hoopty lemon. We don't have to believe the story that says because we got old, we had to break down. It's not true. You can do maintenance along the way that will support you in being worth more in your latter years than you were when you came out. Because those 1950 whatever cars, I can guarantee you they wasn't $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 when they came out. Guarantee they were not. But they are now. So all the life that you will live, all the experience that you will have, all the wisdom you will gain, all the stories you will tell, those things make you worth so much. They make you priceless. Right? So don't run from them. The messages that your emotions come to teach you, don't run from those. We need those. We need y'all to share those. We need you to stay connected and stay rooted in those. We need you to plant seeds of the future generations in those stories and that wisdom. We need it. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you first connect to it. So really take the time to ask yourself those questions. Do I need help right now? And if the answer is yes and you haven't asked for it, go a little bit deeper. Why haven't I asked for it? What is the story around help that I have? Because that's how you dig it up and plant a new seed. It's getting to the root. Oya spoke earlier about getting to the root of the issue. Dig that up. Why haven't I asked for help? What is that? Why aren't I being honest about what I'm feeling? Why do I keep jumping into things that I know I'm not ready for? Why don't I speak up when that doesn't resonate, that doesn't feel right to me? Why do I keep committing to things that I know I don't have the bandwidth to do? What is going on? Why do I choose those things that are not in alignment with that which I say I want for my life? Why do I do that? This is the work that I do with my clients all the time, and I tell them right away, I'm like, listen, we're going to go deep. Because I need you to understand that I don't really care about your feelings as much as I care about your future. So some of this stuff is going to make you uncomfortable. That's okay. I'm here to support you. But we got to get through it to get over it. Right? So really sit with your feelings. What is going on? How many of you guys feel like, I'm a pretty honest person? Pretty honest. Feel like, I mean, maybe I lie a little bit sometimes, like when y'all lied earlier about texting them. Maybe I lie a little bit sometimes, but in general, I'm pretty honest, right? But then all of you raised your hand at some point when I asked you about the time you weren't honest about how you felt, or when you needed help, or when you weren't ready, or when something just didn't feel right, or when it was more than you can handle. You all raised your hand at some point. So now how does it make you feel to know that you're behaving in ways that doesn't align with who you believe yourself to be? If I believe myself to be an honest person, but I'm also admitting that there are times when I lie first to me, then to people around me, those two things are incongruent. They don't really line up. I am choosing to do things that are not in alignment with my identity, who I believe myself to be. And ironically, I'm doing that in the name of protecting that identity so that other people don't think of me as weak or as a burden if I ask like I need help or all these other things. And so I have a self-identity that I'm so protective of that I'll lie to cover it. And then those lies are more harmful to me than they are to any other person if I were to just tell them the truth. So what is that about? Those are the questions you get to ask yourself. That's the questions that I ask my clients. And those are the questions that then be like, girl, what? Bust it open, because everything that will become of the tree is already in the seed. It's in you. All of it is already in you. But if you ask the right questions, empowering questions, that's how you reveal it. That's how you begin to blossom and bloom. And that's when you will be able to reap the benefits of the harvest that is your life. A life that you have every ounce of power to create starting right now. Who believes that? Who feels like they can walk out of here today and begin to really, if they haven't already, really do that? who knows that it's as simple as asking yourself the right questions? Because it really is. It really is as simple as asking yourself the right questions. So I hope that this has been incredibly helpful for you today. I hope that you will leap, and I hope that you will be heard, and I hope that everything else that we've talked about today will be incredibly supportive for you as you journey on throughout here. And I hope you wake up tomorrow morning, and when life hits you on a Monday, and you're like, well, what is this? You can go, GPS Joy said, turn left right here. And that you will feel confident in turning left, that you are, in fact, going in the right direction because everything is as it should be. Thank you all so much.